It's the George Plaster Show. 30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. Featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Watson Brown. And it's a shame it's taken this long to get an introduction for this Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer, Kelly Holcomb, along with young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. It is a beautiful Thursday, and it's going to only get better during the weekend. Temperatures are going to get warmer, and then all of a sudden, we're going to get our first real taste of fall come next Tuesday when the high is only upper 50s, like 58, 59 degrees. So crazy as it may sound, there we go.
Fall weather's better.
Nah.
I think Kelly's with me.
The baseball fan in me doesn't want to let it die that early. Hello, Kelly.
What's up, George? What's up, Billy? Yeah, I like the fall. I do like the fall. I'm getting where, though, as I get older, I don't like the cold anymore.
Yeah, but you can be comfortable, with like 65, 70. Like if
That's
it could
good.
be.
If it stayed like that, if it stayed San Diego weather all the time, where it's between 65 and 75 and the wind blowing all that, that's good. I'm good with that. But when it gets really cold, I just don't like that garbage anymore.
So Buffalo taught you nothing.
No, Minnesota especially. I got up one morning. This is funny because my wife and I used to sleep with the window open, and it was 35 degrees below zero with the windshield.
Oh,
and
my gosh.
We had that shag carpet, and I had to go to the bathroom, and it was crunching under my feet. It was so cold.
That is bad.
It's like the opposite of the turf when it's hot. You feel your feet burning. Well, you can also feel it when it's cold. I'm going to actually call Terry. So
okay, we're having a tad bit of a delay. Go ahead and put up the graphic. Most of you know it by now. Starting Monday, excited to be taking the show over to 94.9 The Fan with a new start time, 3 to 5 p.m. The 3 to 5 is simply so we can sort of try to stay out of the preemptions. They do a lot of play-by-play on that station. It's an ESPN affiliate. It is about to become, with all the things they're doing, a really good sports station, and we're excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, they've got just about every Major League Baseball playoff game on their station right now. So it's kind of that station. If there's a game going on, that might be the station to listen to it on.
Yeah, absolutely. So all of you kind of take note of that, because on Monday, we'll get this thing started at 3 p.m. and do not want you to miss any of it. Terry McCormick is ready and raring to go. Probably got a smile on his face, even though we're going to talk to him by phone for his daily Titans update. Terry, congratulations. That was a big win last night.
Well,
in
all
KC.
of a sudden, I just lost Terry. So give me a second.
Wow. I wonder what Kelly would think.
Really, what kind of gym shoe operation are we running here? Huh? I mean, just hand out sneakers, hand out socks. I mean, what are we doing?
By the way, congratulations to New Mexico State. Whew. They are awful. No Diego Pavia, no
They lost
offense.
their whole offensive coaching staff. So,
yeah.
I mean, what do you do?
It's not good. Okay, Terry's ready and raring to go. Terry, congratulations on a good win last night in KC.
Yeah, I mean, good ball game all the way around, 3-2. How about Giancarlo Stanton showing up at a big moment? Nice.
Did you faint?
I fainted when he stole a base.
Well, now that part is worth feigning. That one caught everybody off guard. So the Yankees could clinch tonight with Garrett Cole and move on. And who would have thunk it? Today, it feels more like the Tigers than the Guardians.
Yeah, it really does. My son was talking, Connor was talking about the Tigers. He said if they get in, he said their pitching will make them a force to be reckoned with. And I think he's right.
Tarek Skubal and then pray for rain.
Yes.
So tell me, what's the news out in Titan territory?
Well, injury report came out, and Will Levis was full participant once again. So I would say things are probably trending in the right direction. The battle at right tackle appears to be ongoing. Bill Callahan talked to us a little bit about that today and said they would not make a decision until the end of the week. But it certainly feels like when you kind of listen and read between the lines that they may be inclined to give Leroy Watson a shot just to shake things up and see what happens.
Terry, what do you think has gone on with Petit Ferrier? Because there appeared to be so much excitement when they drafted him. He certainly went to a school that's known for putting out good people at Ohio State. What do you think's really happened here?
Well, he was kind of inconsistent as a rookie. I mean, I think the one thing that he had going for him as a rookie that a lot of other guys didn't was he was mostly free of the injury bug. And then last year he had the gambling suspension that cost him the first, I think it was 4 games of the year. He comes back. He's, obviously got to get back into football shape and those sorts of things. And he just kind of got off on the wrong foot. They tried him a little bit at left tackle because that was a disaster. They moved him to right tackle and, trying to, after Chris Hubbard went down and put him there. And I think last year was just kind of a washed year for him. And then this offseason, when he had to have surgery after he was injured after only 2 or 3 games last year, it cost him pretty much the whole offseason having surgery done. I think it was on his knee after he'd had the biceps injury last year. And so that put him behind this year. And I think he's just struggled to kind of get his feet back under him, so to speak, and be, able to give them, what they need to have at that right tackle position because he's missed so much time and it's just been kind of unusual things between injuries and moving around and the gambling suspension.
What else is going on over there, Terry?
Well, one of the things that Nick Holtz, the offensive coordinator, said today was he said that he's not satisfied with their ability to get the ball to their playmakers like Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins. He says they've got to do a better job of scheming things up, getting those guys involved and making sure that they're a big part of the game plan. I think everybody would probably concur with that. Now, the numbers are skewed a little bit because the second half in Miami, they had no intention of throwing the football to anybody. They were going to run it down the Dolphins' throat and protect whatever lead they had and build on it because the defense was playing well and the running game was going well. But that said, they do need to, I think that between them, I don't think it's unfair to expect that between Hopkins and Ridley that they get 12 to 15 targets combined a game.
Okay, last thing for you. Gut feeling. Anthony Richardson or Joe Flacco?
Well, Richardson was a full go today, so I think it's probably going to be him. It's going to be a battle of 2 young, struggling quarterbacks, so to speak, is the way it looks like it's trending.
Terry, thank you as always. Root your team on tonight. Tell the child I said hello.
I will do that. Thanks, George. See you.
Terry McCormick, Main Street Media, with his daily Titans update. Billy.
Now it's time for the update brought to you by Lori Burnett Leland. You can log on to her website, mortgageladyyusa.com, or give her a call, 615-969-4350. Man, that was unbelievable seeing Tropicana Field get destroyed, or at least the roof. And obviously right now they said it might take weeks to fully assess how much damage was done to Tropicana Field. The roof was ripped to shreds. The team said no one was injured at the ballpark, but a handful of essential personnel were inside Tropicana Field as the roof panels were blown apart.
I'll admit, it's made me wonder.
About
what?
Well, we'll get into this with Danny. If you got a ballpark that you can't use, don't you have to go somewhere?
Oh, okay. Got you.
Oh, yeah.
Always thinking, aren't you, George?
To go somewhere, it would likely be somewhere in Florida. But if it isn't, why not us?
Sounds like a little bit of wishful thinking.
Yeah, it is. Keep going.
Also, last night, as you got into with Terry, Yankees beat the Royals 3-2. They lead the series 2-1 now, and the Dodgers whipped up on the Padres 8-0. And that series is now tied at 2.
Was that a book? Hey, was that a book it?
That was
Billy?
a book
I think
it.
it was.
That was a book it, dude. You need to stop saying book it, because when you do, your picks suck.
Well, you know what? Then you need to sort of, step out on a limb every once in a while.
With Kelly's bet of the day.
Because for the most part, if you'll look at the record, it's a commitment to excellence. Not all of them are going to be right.
George, I thought you were having an elderly moment there. I was about to tell you, spit it out, Elmer Fudd. I mean, what are we doing?
Look, you need to just sit back in your role, in your secondary role as a...
Shut your mouth and know your role.
I was going to say as a blank stir, and then I realized, don't do that. Don't go there.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Billy,
tonight.
Do we have anything going on here tonight?
We have a Nashville Predator game tonight against the Dallas Stars.
Yes.
Season opener, home opener.
Let me make clear that in 304 row 1, we will be loud. Oh, you're darn tootin', I will. Loud and proud. Kelly, I'm excited. Now, I realize there's some new pieces that have to gel, but they've got some real potential, and that's got me very excited.
Yeah, just do a little bit, just add on what you did a little bit last year. And I think they got the coach, they got the GM, they got some players in. So I think there's some cause to be excited for yourself and section 301. Is that what it is? Section
304, but I'm sure 301's excited as well.
Yeah, 304. Yeah.
Do
they like you up in 304, George?
Well, I've been there longer than virtually anybody. So the answer is I don't really care. I have, I guess, like squatters' rights up there.
I can see you. That is a good description of you. I can see you being a squatter.
Squatters' rights. So, Billy, do we not have some news out of the Big Apple?
We do have some news out of the Big Apple.
Let's lay that one on people.
Well, on his second full day on the job, Jets interim coach Jeff Ulbrich has already made a big-time shakeup. He has stripped the play-calling duties from Nathaniel Hackett and is passing them down to former Titans offensive coordinator Todd Downing.
Oh, wow. Has he really? Wow. How did O'Aaron think that, I wonder?
Well, my guess is he didn't take it real well. I will say this, having watched the Jets the last couple of weeks, their game plan against Denver, I would describe as Cro-Magnon. I mean, it was as simple and as basic as it gets. Todd Downing? Let's see how that works out.
I mean, you go from Nathaniel Hackett to Todd Downing. The rich get richer.
Boy, I don't know. I got a feeling that things are about to implode up there.
Yep, I would agree with that. Well, things aren't going to implode for the Texas Longhorns. They survived while they could with Arch Manning at quarterback, and they got lucky. They didn't I mean, they didn't have to play anybody with Arch starting. I'm not saying Arch would have lost to a top 10 team if they played him. Would have been a big challenge for him. But Quinn Ewers is back, and he's going to start against Oklahoma as Arch goes back to the backup role. But I wonder if there's any rust Quinn's got to knock off for this Oklahoma game, which is a game you want to win because you got Georgia coming up.
Oklahoma won this game a year ago at the Cotton Bowl. People forget that.
Yep.
Kelly, let me ask you this. I don't know if you ever got to see Arch Manning. If you did, any thoughts?
Well, I saw a couple of clips of on ESPN. I tell you one thing, he's a lot more athletic than his uncles. That's for sure. He can run around a little bit because his uncles were a tree. They look like Drew Bledsoe back there. Drew Bledsoe was the same thing, but I mean, obviously Peyton is in the Hall of Fame, and Eli won two Super Bowls, so he's probably going to go as well. But he looks like he's athletic. He can throw the ball. He has a good sense of the game. He knows when to stay in the pocket and when to be advantageous and get out of it and try to extend the play. So obviously he's learned a lot from those guys. And Cooper did not get to play because he had a neck injury. So I'm sure Cooper is kind of living through his son right now, which is a pretty cool deal.
Yeah.
We got some NFL tonight. We got some college tonight. Western Kentucky and MTSU both in action. The Blue Raiders looking to snap a 4-game losing streak as they travel to Louisiana Tech, 7 o'clock, CBS Sports Network. So Blue Raiders need it. They're coming off that 24-7 loss at Memphis where they weren't very competitive. So, and then you also got Western Kentucky hosting UTEP, who's 0-5 this year.
Yeah.
So tough season for the UTEP.
Kelly, is Middle's one win the opener against Tennessee Tech?
Correct. And they almost lost that. Yeah, they were down 25-24 with 1:10 left, and luckily they got it back and scored, and that was crazy.
Yeah.
I think Middle gets it done tonight. I think they're a 4.5-point underdog. Louisiana Tech's not very good either. This is an opportunity for them. We'll see.
The middle of Conference USA could use a little sprucing up.
Could use some NIL money.
Yeah, something like that. Well said.
That's what I got.
Okay, we ready to go to the break?
Yep.
Danny Evans will join us. We got a lot of baseball to talk about, and virtually none of it right now will be about my Atlanta Braves. So stick around as we break new ground with Danny Evans here on the George Plaster Show.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, "You need to call Bart Durham." And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5688.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
This is going to be fun to talk to Danny Evans because the playoffs have been crazy. I thought the Padres would close it out last night, but the Dodgers really showed me something in a deal where San Diego made the decision to pitch Dylan Cease on 3 days rest, and it didn't look like it would work. Danny, how you doing?
Also, Danny, real quick, unmute that mic.
Yeah, the lip reading skills of this group is probably not extraordinary, right? Actually, playoff season, I should be talking like this, right?
I think you're on to something there. So what has been the biggest surprise for you in a playoff full of them?
Wow. Well, first of all, guys, this has been an outstanding couple of weeks of playoffs. I know, George, for you and all the Braves fans, there's disappointment. But I think the shocking part, and it's a couple years in a row, where the elite clubs just can't get back to that level. And I think what I've learned over the last couple of years now is there's two different seasons. There's the marathon where your depth wins you division titles. And then the postseason where your depth isn't as important. It's how well are you playing and how do your best players play? I think what we're seeing is a Tiger team that is going to be really tough. I think the Mets have been extraordinary. And I think we really learned something about the Dodgers last night. I thought that might have been Dave Roberts' best managing job of his career. That's full of great moments. I mean, this guy has almost a 700 winning percentage in elimination games. It's extraordinary. And we saw why last night. And his demeanor on the bench, and Kelly, you know this as a player, it has so much to do with the confidence and the personality of a team. And he was in such a good place last night from the first pitch forward. It's been a lot of fun to watch baseball in the Evans Walker household the last week and a half.
No response from Kelly, so I'll move on. How about that?
Kelly's busy studying the bracket. He's trying to figure out what to ask Kelly.
So let me lie about this one because I guess I'll throw the Braves into this.
Okay.
You know, I had prepared myself that, look, the victory is in that team's stubborn willingness to find a way to get in. But truthfully, I never thought it was going anywhere. And I said it on the air. When they get everybody back to a reasonable level of health, you've got now 3 Godzillas in that division. Truthfully, in your mind, where do you rank the 3?
Oh, I think clearly the Braves are the best when they're all healthy. The Braves have a core group of position players who play every day, have experience, and are elite performers. I think with the return of Acuna, you've got a generational player, one of the most exciting guys in the game. I think they'll go out and improve themselves in the areas They have to. They do need to get a little better, but so does everybody on October 10th. I like them better than the Phillies, and I like them better than the Mets. I just think they've got that it factor. And I think, George, we learned a lot about them in September. I mean, my gosh, they were decimated by injuries all year long. Arguably the Cy Young Award, I would say, leader in the clubhouse coming out of opening day. You lose Acuna and you lose key players throughout the second half, and you get in, tells me a lot about that team. They're not going away. They're going to be an elite club in 2025.
So I wasn't able to be here last Thursday. And so afterwards, I'm like, what did Danny say about Max Fried? What did Danny say? Because if I'm not Max Fried's biggest fan, then I'm number 2 behind you.
Yep.
Do you think there is any shot they re-sign him?
Sure there is, but George, he's an elite left-handed pitcher in the prime of his career, and he's a ground ball machine. And the other thing about Max is Max has thrown great when his team really needed him to throughout the last 5 years.
Yes.
So obviously the Braves are not going to be alone, but I think this guy is, I've known Max since he was 6 years old. And I think what you're going to see is a guy gravitate to winning teams only. This will not be about the money for Max Fried. Max is a supreme competitor, will want a chance to win in the prime of his career. The money will come along with that interest level. I think we're looking at an absolute elite starting pitcher in the prime of his career. And as a result, he's going to have a lot of people ringing his agent's phone.
Should I be bothered? Should I be upset that the Braves let it get to the 11th hour?
No, because I think it takes two to tango. I think you've got a guy here who's had, an arm surgery. He's had issues. When a pitcher gets through those things in his career, George, the free agent route is something I think all of us understand, for the people who aren't athletes out there that are working class people. If you only had one opportunity in your career to make the big money, wouldn't you want that chance to just find out how much you're wanted, you're desired in the workplace? I don't find fault in that at all. And I'm just happy for Max because he's a phenomenal young man from a great family. And this is what happens when guys get deeper into their career.
Okay, so let me throw it on the Mets and Pete Alonso, who I happen to really like, and from what I know from people is a stand-up, grade A, good guy. Doesn't what's been going on in the last 8 days force the Mets to re-sign him?
Oh, no question, George. I think when he hit the home run in the wild card series, he became a 2025 Met and a Met for life. I thought it was going to happen anyway, but I think what Pete has understood throughout his time in New York is there's a responsibility of being a really good New York professional athlete. And, he's risen to the occasion numerous times, and he's had one heck of a good playoff. I think he's going to be Lindor's teammate for a long time. And I think that's good for baseball. I love it when guys stick with their clubs because that means both sides are happy with each other.
Okay, I want to talk about a couple of people. For the life of me, I guess I'll never understand how A.J. Hinch got himself into the trash can banging thing in Houston. In Houston, until that happened, I thought he was an exceptional manager. I'm convinced that a lot of what's going on in Detroit is A.J. Hinch, and he has instilled a belief at some point that caught fire. Talk to me about it.
George, great call. AJ, along with Alex Cora, two phenomenal guys. You said you got their hand caught in a cookie jar. I mean, I love cookies, so I'm going to take exception to that. I think it was a little bit more than cookies,
Yeah,
guys.
I think it was too.
But I think both of them wore it, took the penalty, and both of them have been darn good since. I think AJ has got back on everybody's radar this year. You know, that's the youngest team in baseball. And they're a bunch of guys that most people didn't know until about 2 weeks ago. They're playing with a reckless abandon that only comes when your leader, loosens the reins and leaves you unbridled. You go play and play as hard as you can. But what I really love is what we've been hearing. And I think this for me speaks volumes. All the players saying, hey, I don't really care if I start. I don't care if I'm not the starting pitcher, because we have a 26-man team here and we are here for each other. And we're not worried about egos. We're just worried about winning baseball games. George, in 2024, that is a heck of a statement for leadership, because those are a bunch of young kids. Everybody wants to play. Everybody wants that ego boost. And in the postseason, everybody wants to be the guy. And all you hear from the Tiger players are, hey, he sat me today because he didn't think I was the best option. I was ready to play, and I'm here for my teammates. I mean, George, people are saying, it's Scooble and a bunch of guys. I think we're all going to learn the next few weeks. And when they get to the World Series, I think we're going to see why this guy is so heralded as a good leader, because they just are playing their butt off. And I think the American League better be careful, because they're not going anywhere. This entire team is coming back for the next couple of years. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with for an extended period.
No, I'm right there with you. The other one is your close friend, Dave Roberts.
Yeah.
Who back during the winter meetings, when you introduced me to him and I said, this is killing me. I said, because I hate the Dodgers, and now I find out that you're an all-time good human being. Danny,
Yes.
I have been convinced the Padres were going to lay waste to them last night, that the Dodgers don't have the pitching with all these injuries. How this guy has kept this afloat. And I know there are people who are going to say, good Lord, he's got Ohtani, he's got Betts, but if you look at that pitching, good Lord, he has done it with masking tape.
Nailed it, George. Well, you met him. This is one of the finest human beings on planet Earth. He's one of my best friends, as you learned last year at the winter meetings. He's an extraordinary man and a great leader. And, Kelly's played for different guys. And, George, you've covered different guys. Some guys are just so authentic and so genuine that what comes out of their mouth isn't rhetoric. It's just real. This guy has empowered his subordinate players, his coaches, to get the best they can out of guys. When you've got a lot of egos in a clubhouse and things go bad, a lot of times things go sour. Instead, what we saw last night, and candidly, what we've seen all year, I mean, let's not forget, despite having more injuries than any other team in baseball, they had the best record in the major leagues this year. They have the home field advantage. And going into last night's game, a friend of mine called me about an hour before the game, and he said, well, this will be it for the Dodgers. And I said, dude, I got news for you. I have zero doubt they're going to win this game. Roberts is going to piecemeal this game. They're going to play hard for him. They're going to have an energy, because this team has something to prove. And George, what he did last night is extraordinary, to balance an 8 or 9 man bullpen game against an elite arm. And sure, he was on short rest, but their energy from the first pitch of the game was extraordinary. And as a result, I think what you're going to see tomorrow night is you're going to see the Dodgers walk out of Dodger Stadium advancing into the ALCS.
You know, Danny, I wrote down 3. They're about 8 or 9, to be honest. Let me add one more here. Clayton Kershaw, barely a factor this year. Tyler Glasnow has been out the last couple of months, not in their rotation. Walker Buehler truly has never been the same this year, trying to come back from all his arm stuff. Tony Gonsolin, help me. May, the redhead kid. I mean, that list just goes.
They lost Betts for 2 weeks or 2 months.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been an extra. They lost Freddie Freeman. You know, they've lost guys throughout the year, and they just keep on playing. And you know, George, what it is? It's a testimony to how great their player development system is, because they have scouted and developed players. Everybody talks about their checkbook, but George, their player development group is the best in the game. Their scouts are extraordinary. And what we're going to see tomorrow night, I'm going to give the viewers a little idea. Yamamoto in a crucial situation is about as good as there is on this planet. I saw him last year punch out 14 guys in a big Japan series game. He punched out 14, didn't walk anybody. I think it was a 2-hit shutout. And you talk about dominating. For him, that was the biggest game of his life. Tomorrow, you're not going to see a guy have a problem. And going against Darvish is such a wonderful statement about the level of Japanese baseball, because Darvish is an extraordinary guy. These 2 guys are dictating their team's future tomorrow. And there's going to be 40 million people on the other side of the world getting up in the middle of the night to watch that game. It's going to be so much fun.
Wow, you said it really well. After the break, Kelly Holcomb with Danny Evans. Stick around. As you might be able to tell, my buddy Stan Harrison, he's an Alabama Crimson Tide fan, but he's actually here to talk about Apple Collision Centers.
Hello, Middle Tennessee. I'm Stan Harrison, CEO of Apple Collision Centers, and we understand the stress it causes in having an automobile accident. We can help you ease the stress of the auto body repair process at our 3 locations. We're conveniently located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. We've got rental cars available, we have PDR technicians available, and we have windshield technicians available. Please stop by one of our places and see us if you need our services.
And by the way, when you come in his office, this just in, he's a sports fan.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com.
If you are paying too much for your health insurance, you need to contact Pancoast Benefits. Pancoast works with businesses and individuals to tackle the high cost of health insurance. Whether you are a business owner, large or small, self-employed, between jobs, or over the age of 65 and in need of a Medicare plan, Pancoast can help. They make understanding your benefits less difficult and more personal. Check them out today at pancoastbenefits.com or call 615-292-3400.
You know, starting to save for your future doesn't have to be difficult. Let Wilson Bank and Trust help tone up your financial goals this year. Our certificates of deposits or CDs can help your money work harder with our competitive rates, earning you more than ever before. WBT checking options allow you to earn rewards you can really use, like a high interest rate or cash back on check card purchases when you meet some e-banking qualifications. Visit your closest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC.
Playoff baseball has been really good. Nobody can talk it better than Danny Evans. Kelly, do your thing.
So, Danny, it's been interesting listening to you and George talk about all this stuff. And I was going to ask you about, and y'all talked about the two managers that I was going to talk about, A.J. Hinch and Dave Roberts. Both those guys, I read an article where A.J. Hinch used six guys the other night. Dave Roberts is piecing together a lineup too. Was there ever a time as a GM that a coach would come up and ask you your advice on stuff like that, and would you give it? And like, how do they do that? There's so many moving parts in that stuff, and like, is that a gut feeling? Is that more analytics with those guys? But like, if you're in a pressure packed situation like that, you've got to know who you can trust and who you can count on. How tough is that?
Oh, it's so tough, Kelly. You know, I think the relationship between a manager, a head coach, and a general manager is so delicate and so trusting. And you guys both know that when it's not there, it's really not there. It can be really ugly. When that's happened in my career, first of all, I have to be honest with you, I was humbled and flattered to be brought into that thought process. But also, you have to remember, and the listeners need to embrace this, when you're the manager or head coach of a team, you are under scrutiny for everything. You have very few people you can confide in, but you also know you don't have all the answers. And sometimes it's just wonderful to sit there and just try to talk it through. Kelly, you ask about analytics. You know what? Analytics have been in the game for 50, 60 years. Earl Weaver used to use it in the 70s. Casey Stengel used it for platoons with the 50s and the 60s Yankees. But sometimes, you're sitting in a room by yourself. And when that's happened in my career, it's really fun to hear the manager think it through out loud. And what's really great, Kelly, when you do it that way, is it gives them the confidence that they've thought it through, but it takes the emotion away from the in-game experience, which is so hard to manage. We've got 15 seconds between pitches. You've got cameras on you. I mean, there's 13 cameras all over the place. You don't have time to really digest what's going on. So much of these decisions are literally in the moment, but preparation in baseball is everything. And if you come in prepared with a game plan, what Roberts did, what Hinch did, is a little easier to execute in game because you kind of have an idea. When you look at tomorrow night's game, Dave always has this folded 8.5 by 10 sheet of paper. And he's got various scenarios in his head as to if, then when. And he's got a lot of different influences, but he also has a lot of really good minds around him. One thing I always liked about Dave is Dave never wants to be the smartest guy in the room. He wants to be the best listener. And if you heard him during the game, Kelly, remember when Rosenthal asked him the question and he basically told the next four guys, and I'm thinking, Dave, don't tell the world because they're watching in the other clubhouse. But he's thinking, no, I'm ahead of them. It's okay. This is what I'm going to do. And I think it's a real good example of how these guys earn their money in these postseason situations. Because, I mean, Kelly, you got second guessed all the time. I did. George has. It's part of the job, but it's a lot easier to do the job when you're ready to make those calls.
Well, that's really cool. It's really cool to watch that. So the other day I was asking George and I asked Billy, when 1988, the World Series, we all know what happened. Kirk Gibson hit that crazy home run. Nobody thought he was going to play. Joe Buck calls that. He calls the the radio broadcast, and that's something that everybody remembers. But the other night against the Brewers, Pete Alonso hits one in the top of the ninth, and then last night Francisco Lindor hits a grand slam. So, like, those are huge home runs in certain situations, but it seems like, and I know that was the World Series, but these are division series, but it seems like that they're not getting the clout because those are huge hits in a key moment, and two of the best players on the team make the play that the managers, they've signed those guys for that. They do that. But, like, why is there not getting as much play as the Kirk Gibson deal did a long time ago?
Because I think we have more playoff games, Kelly. And I think also, the stage of the World Series is so grand. The whole world's watching. So, Mays' catch in 54 is something people still talk about. And sure, it was a great play, and it was 460 feet from home plate, but it was the first game of the World Series. Yeah. And Vic Wertz hits a ball over his head, and we all remember it to this day. That was 70 years ago, 80 years ago. And I think what we've got here, which you really brought out there, Kelly, is great players doing great things. I mean, look what Ohtani did last week. Look what Betts did last night. Machado, Tatis. What we're seeing is elite players being elite. And I think that's always wonderful. Everybody talks about the Jordan game when he hit the big, basket to win, but nobody talks about Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr had a monstrous shot to win one of those NBA titles. But I think we all come and watch to see the great ones be great. And I love when they answer the doorbell, because to me, that's just an awesome part of the game.
So this is my last one. So you've got to get hot. We know this. At this time of year, you've got to get really hot. And then the Guardians have gone, what is it, like 20 scoreless innings or 22 scoreless innings? Like, could they have a worse time to go cold? Like, when you're a general manager or when you're a manager, how do you compensate for that? Like, what does it do mentality-wise, Danny? Yeah, what does it do mentality-wise to the team?
Kelly, hitting is the most contagious thing in the sport. It's why you really don't want to depend on offense in the postseason, because teams have spent a month trying to figure out how to get you out. And hitting is so hard. I mean, the triple slash in baseball this year was the lowest in the last 50 years. So what we have here is a hard thing made harder in the postseason, because you have only the elite arms throwing against you. You don't see fourth starters. You don't see fifth starters. You don't see pitcher number 12 and 13. And what the Guardians have done, have gone cold at an inopportune moment. But you know what? That's part of the magic of the sport, is when pitching dominates hitting, it's very hard to win the ball game. What we saw 2 nights ago is defense is even more important. Look at how that Dodger club, a couple of balls in the dirt that decided that ball game. They had a 7-out first inning. People say Buehler didn't throw well. I thought Buehler threw great. He had great stuff, great command. He had 4 straight guys in an 0-2 count. He got 4 ground balls in that first inning. His defense let him down. And as a result, I think people see the score and they don't realize that defense sometimes is as much a component of pitching as the execution of the pitcher himself.
You're right about one thing. That was the best stuff I've seen him have. There have been times this year where it's been tough to watch him, You know,
Yeah.
obviously I saw him a lot in college here. When he's right, he can be electric.
George, he's as good as there is when he's 100%.
Yeah.
But what he did is he rose to the occasion the other night. I mean, they needed him not only to step up, but George, in that first inning, he threw over 40 pitches. He could have imploded. He did not. He threw, I thought, really well, gave them 5 innings, gave them a chance to win the next day. Imagine, George, if he didn't get out of that first, how tough yesterday's game would have been for Roberts. Instead, he only had to go 3 innings out of the pen, and as a result, look what happened.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Okay, let's end it like this. Fill in the blank. Mm-hmm. The winner of this year's World Series is
the Dodgers over the Tigers in 6 games.
Tigers.
Oh, wow.
That'd be a fun
Everybody at the same time. 1, 2, 3. Wow.
You're right, Danny, and no one knows. So what the heck, right? But I just think, George, you don't want conventional out of me. I'm just telling you, I think those are the 2 best teams in their respective leagues right now. And here it comes, baby. We're going to go see some good baseball the next 3 weeks.
By the way, up in heaven, Nick Hunter is going, that was a stupid question.
Well, George, I actually thought it was a good question. But guys, you know what? I really wish you the very best in your move to the new station. I think the listeners are going to have a real treat. It's a heck of a station. This can be a great opportunity for you guys.
Hey, I'll talk to you in the next day or two. Thank you as always.
Bye, guys.
See you.
Danny Evans. When we talk baseball, we talk it with the best. The guy is there's nobody better. Nobody knows more.
Yeah, he can explain it in such an easy fashion too. It's remarkable how he can just explain stuff. Because I don't know anything about baseball like you guys do, but like I was enjoying listening to y'all's conversation. That was pretty cool.
I could talk this stuff with him for hours, and he's smart enough not to ever let that happen.
That's right.
Okay, after the break, stat of the day, and then a really good guest to start the 5 o'clock hour. Author Mike Silver, and I'll explain what this is all about. Stick around.
Convenience and value, 2 words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
Wrapping up this first hour on a Thursday. It's time for Stat of the Day, and we've got a good one for today. The Seahawks play the Niners tonight. a highlight of the rivalry was after the 2013 NFC Championship when Richard Sherman had the infamous line, "When you try me with a sorry receiver like blank, that's the result you're going to get." Who's the receiver Richard Sherman was talking about in that interview?
Gosh. Kelly, you got to help me here because obviously we're talking about the 49ers, and I'm trying to think the stuff around that. Something happened near the buzzer. Now, remember, this has been 11 years ago. I'm trying to go back and think about, okay, what happened? It seems like there was either a fumble or something that went against San Fran that ultimately got Seattle back to the Super Bowl.
I am really struggling right here.
Two of us are really struggling right here. Let me see if I can.
You know what?
Whom
was it? Where did he play? Did he play college ball at Texas Tech?
Yes, he did.
Okay, well, that's good enough right there.
Michael Crabtree.
Boom.
Look at Kelly Holcomb. Old Plasmosis wouldn't have gotten that. We could have been here till midnight.
Joe, thank you so much. Richard, let me ask you the final play. Take me through it.
Well, I'm the best corner in the game. When you try me with a sorry receiver like Crabtree, that's the result you're going to get. Don't you ever talk about me.
Richard Sherman, dude. Undrafted guy, too. You know he's an undrafted free agent.
Oh,
Richard Sherman was?
He was.
Wow.
Absolutely.
He's
made a name for himself.
Yeah, I never thought he was the best player, but man,
he was the best talker.
He got into your head.
Yeah.
He did.
Gosh.
He would.
So let me kind of tell people what's coming here. And I'll probably say this again when we get Mike on. Most of you know of my friendship with John McClain. And when we move over to 94.9, you're going to hear John with us more often, kind of a reuniting that goes back, 20 years. But when John McClain and I used to do our weekly shows together, there was a name that he would throw out there at me, and he used this name on the air a lot, Chip Namius. Okay, I didn't know Chip Namius from Adam, but I felt like I did. Great publicity director in the NFL. So since Chip has gotten away from doing, being a team's PR director, he does a lot of publicity for NFL type writers who end up writing books. And he has sent me over the last, year and a half, 2 years, some great people. And so I know without even having to ask that we're in for a real treat with the author Mike Silver. The name of the book is A Story of Football, Rivalry, and Revolution. That right there ought to get your attention. The book came out a week ago, Tuesday, October the 1st, and right now you can purchase it anywhere that books are sold. I'll leave it at this. If it gets Chip Namius's stamp of approval, that is plenty good enough for me. Mike Silver, how are you?
Yeah, that was a tremendous lead-in. I'm better now.
Well, and I know you know McClain, don't you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, a force of nature, a living legend, and one of the all-time greats.
So I turned him into a rock star years ago when the Oilers came to Nashville, and John would get on the air, and you know how he talks. I know Chip Namius, and Chip Namius is. And so over the last couple of years, Chip and I have gotten to know each other. And of course, we have a lot of fun comparing McClain notes. But anytime he has asked me, hey, I'm representing a writer, I want you to have him on, boom, because it's always great stuff. So tell me what this means. The why is everything.
Well, it's about the Shanahan McVay coaching crew. So it kind of starts with Mike Shanahan in the early 90s, who I covered as a young 49er beat writer when he was trying to resurrect his career as their offensive coordinator. And then goes to Washington in the early 2010s. You had all these future and current NFL head coaches on that great staff with Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, Raheem Morris, Mike McDaniel, Matt LaFleur. And obviously they have many offshoots and have kind of changed a lot of things about coaching and the game. And the why is everything refers to, they talk about the why quite a bit. And it's, they don't want to just run plays to run plays or, do cool things. They want everything to have a purpose that all fits together. And then they want their players to understand why they're being asked to do things. And that's really different from a lot of the way football's been for a long time. As you know, a lot of coaches don't ask why, just do it because I said so. It just works. And, they're not the only ones who are changing it, but that crew is kind of distinguished by a willingness to innovate on the fly, to be creative and kind of deconstruct from scratch if they need to.
Oh, I love this already, and I haven't even read the book. So, Mike, let me start with this. A lot of people forget that Shanahan got bounced by Al Davis at one point and was very bitter about it. Talk to me about
because Al didn't pay him his money he was due. So you're right. And sorry to cut you off, but he was kind of like a Lane Kiffin situation. He lasted like 1+ years as the young hotshot coach of the LA Raiders. Al fired him and didn't pay him, and then even worse for Mike, he then went back to Denver where he had success as an assistant to Dan Reeves. And he got fired as a Broncos assistant and accused of insubordination by Dan Reeves, who essentially was accusing Mike Shanahan and John Elway of conspiring to run their own offense behind his back. It's kind of a severe charge. And so Mike was a damaged guy. And he got to San Francisco, and Steve Young was there playing for the injured Joe Montana. And he was maligned, as great as he is, especially in the Bay Area, because he wasn't Joe. He ran a lot. He didn't read defenses in people's minds. And then together they kind of rehabilitated both of their images in grandiose fashion. Then he goes to Denver and implements outside zone, and the beginning of that Shanahan offense, kind of outside zone fused with the Walsh West Coast principles. And I know in Tennessee, the tentacles are everywhere, but it has come to Tennessee, right? Matt LaFleur was there for the 1 year as Vrabel's offensive coordinator. We have some very amusing moments in the book about the stylistic and personality clash that presented. I love both those guys, but man, probably should never be in the same building together again. And then Arthur really came up under Matt. So Arthur was kind of running that same system with a lot of the same philosophies. So, Vrabel and Matt, when I heard it was going to happen, I was very skeptical, and I've covered Vrabel as a player for a long time. I was like, how's this going to work? And then it seemed like it was working okay. And then I started hearing stories. And I think there's a story in the book where Matt decides he's going to take the job as Vrabel's OC, and Raheem calls him up and says, "Dude, what have you done? Like, do you know anything about this guy?" But not even really ripping Vrabel, just kind of like, you and he are very different in the way you do things. So, given all that, I thought it went pretty well. They came within they had a chance to make the playoffs in the last game, and Mariota got hurt and didn't play. But just part of this wild story, because they're also intertwined after they left Washington. And I want to assure you and your listeners, this isn't just like about scheme and evolution, and there's lots of pettiness and dirt and rivalry, and stuff that you'll enjoy along the way.
Mike, I got to ask this one. Because I know a little more about it than most people. When Mike Shanahan was in sort of that, I guess you'd call it, purgatory of coaching.
Yeah.
a guy who's like a second dad to me at the time, Kentucky athletic director C.M. Newton tried to hire Mike Shanahan. Does that come up, and would he have been a good college coach?
I remember that, and I think he would have. Most of these guys would, given truth serum, would say I wouldn't want to deal with recruiting and boosters and all that crap. But coaching's coaching, and he has an incredible eye for talent. And let me just say this: so because I was spending so much time with Mike Shanahan in the spring of 2022. And asking him about Trey Lance, who they drafted the year before, and Jimmy Garoppolo. On tape, I have him talking about Brock Purdy, who was the 262nd and last pick of that draft. And they have something at the 49er headquarters they refer to as the Shanacam. And what they mean is Mike Shanahan needs to get a copy of that day's practice and that day's meetings ASAP. So, because wherever he is, he wants to at least, check it out. And so he had seen OTA and minicamp tape of Purdy, and he starts telling me, hey, I think this kid might be special. And I'm thinking, yeah. I mean, he went 262. And then there's a scene in the book where the day before the 2022 regular season opener, where Trey Lance is now the starter, I'm in Chicago, and I go to Mike Shanahan's hotel room, and we're talking about Trey Lance. And again, he turns it back to Purdy, and he says, when you have a guy like that in your building, you don't let him out. I'm thinking, really? And apparently Mike still got it, because he was ahead of everyone on that.
Mike, first of all, I'll just be honest. I could probably ask you an hour's worth of questions. I'm going to ask one more, and then I'm going to turn it over to former NFL quarterback Kelly Holcomb. Here's one I'm curious about. So Shanahan wins back-to-back Super Bowls in Denver. And after the second one, John Elway says, I'm done. Did Shanahan ever go to him and say, look, I know there's part of you that wants to get out, but this could be history, this concept of a three-peat. Talk to me about that, because that had to be frustrating that he never really got the chance to try it.
Yeah, and that next season was obviously a slap in the face. They had Bubby Brister playing, then Brian Griese, and I came out there for Sports Illustrated. They were 0-3. They were hosting the Jets. Terrell Davis blew out his knee and basically ruined his career. And they benched Brister and put in Griese, and I went out with a bunch of players afterwards to the Chop House in Denver, and then wrote a very vivid Sports Illustrated cover story. Unbeknownst to me, they put on the cover, quote, "We're finished. The Broncos season is over. Just ask them." And it caused quite a brouhaha. So, yeah, it went real bad real quick. But, I just feel like John had done so much for that franchise, for that city, that he was done. And I don't know that there was a whole lot of attempt to talk him out of it. He and Mike had really, their relationship had gotten strained now that Mike was the head coach and not his confidant. And I think most of all, some quarterbacks get hit a lot and suffer injuries and tough it out and let us all know how tough they are, like a Ben Roethlisberger. And believe me, he is very tough, but he, I feel like he let everyone know when he was hurt. John was unbelievably tough and just didn't let people understand what he was going through. And the rules were different then. Quarterbacks could just get pummeled, and his body was, he felt like his body was done.
Yeah. Florida Gators superfan Chip Namias did not disappoint again when a couple of weeks ago he said, I've got one for you. Mike Silver is the author. The name of the book is The Why is Everything, a story of football, rivalry, and revolution. It's been out a little more than a week, and hopefully after you hear all this, like me, you're going to make a beeline to get this book. Kelly, say hello to Mike.
Mike, what's up, man? How you doing?
Good, Kelly. I saw Kelly light it up in Pittsburgh in the playoffs to the point where literally fans were leaving a playoff game.
They left too early, though, because we decided to go into a prevent defense, which prevented us from winning the flipping game.
Dude, I know it's probably too soon, even though it was a long time ago.
It's still too soon, man. I promise you.
And I was there for Sports Illustrated, and you and I had talked, in the days leading up to the game, and you had a great story. And just you being in that moment was really cool. And I'm watching the game, and I'm sitting there with my binoculars going, this is going to be the sweetest Kelly Holcomb story. Maybe they'll put it on the cover. Look, these fans are leaving. And then the prevent defense.
Yeah. And here's the
Kelly,
first time.
Think about this. You were going to get on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
Instead, I'm on the George Plaster show. Good gracious. Hey, Mike, the first time you and I met, I don't know if you remember this, but you came to Indianapolis when over on West 56th Street where the Colts practice, and I think it was Peyton's second year, and you interviewed me for that. Do you remember that?
I do remember that, and was Bruce Arians the coordinator at that point?
He wasn't the coordinator at that time. He was the quarterback coach, and then he went to when he left Indianapolis. He took me with him. He took me with him to Cleveland. So that was the first time me and you met. You were doing a story because we'd gone from 3-13. We were terrible the first year that Peyton started, and we had turned it around that year and went 13-3 and was going to the playoffs. So I can remember you coming up to Indianapolis doing that interview. Yep.
Yeah, and I remember, it was a different era, right? So Peyton and I went out to lunch at St. Elmo on a weekday, and people kind of left us alone. And then I went back to his little bachelor apartment, and I started my story with this scene. So Peyton, who is just out of college, and all he does is deal with football and maybe party a little, but doesn't really know how to handle the main normal things in life, like a lot of young dudes, is showing me his closet, and he's got all these blazers and slacks kind of put together, and then he pulls out these Polaroids, and his mom had taken pictures of which outfits worked together, so he knew how to get dressed. It was unbelievable.
I've told George and Billy the same thing on here. I told them that 2 years ago, man. This guy was so weird that he would show us his Polaroids, and Mike just backed it up for me, so I wasn't lying. He had Polaroids in a shoebox in his closet to show what matched and what didn't.
Yes, it was in a shoebox. And then he goes, hey, you should call my girlfriend, Ashley, who's now his wife. And I called her. She was still back in Tennessee. And, she didn't really want to be in the story, but, eventually warmed to it. And I started asking her, well, he can't really get dressed. What else can't he do? And she goes, if he wants to order Chinese food, takeout, or delivery, I have to call from Tennessee and do the order because he doesn't know how to, get that task done. And she said he can't open a can of soup. And I'm thinking, this is this guy's going to be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, but he's very locked in on football.
Mike, he could not use a microwave either. He had to ask us how to use a microwave. So tell me this,
I wish he was on right now because he would be clouding both of us right now.
I would too. But talk about this. Y'all talked about trees, and the other day somebody brought this up to me, and y'all were talking about Mike Shanahan. He's part of kind of the Bill Walsh deal. He kind of implemented some stuff, but look at all these coaches that come from the Bill Walsh era, and then if you look on the other side, Bill Parcells. I mean, there's been so much winning from those two coaches, and so many trees. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous if you think about it. Somebody told me that the other day. Bill Belichick's he won 6, so he's won 8 Super Bowls altogether. But if you look at it, I mean, those two trees have created some. It's still going on today.
Yeah, but so it's interesting because Walsh was always very much into the tree, and part of it was he was ahead on minority hires and trying to do the right thing that way. But he encouraged all his guys to go get other jobs, and he'd help them and he'd pump them up, and he was okay losing them, even though it sucks to lose good coaches. Parcells was totally the opposite, and I knew Belichick back then pretty well, and I always thought, well, when Belichick finally gets a job, he's not going to be like Parcells was. Oh, no, he was worse. He tried to keep all his people, too. And then the amazing thing is, if you look at the Belichick, like, so many of his people have failed, and I feel like they all fail for the same reason. It's like they go in and they go, let's see, was Bill a good coach because he's a great coach? Was he a good coach because he had Tom Brady? No, he's a great coach because he's a jerk. So if I just act like a jerk, it'll be great.
That's a good point. So what I'm going to ask you, this is kind of a deal right here. What do you think about the game today? Because when I watch it, I obviously love pro football. I enjoy watching it every week, but it's gotten so crazy with penalties. You know, you talked about it, talking about Elway, I think earlier, talking about how his body was beat up. We used to get, like, even when I played, it's totally different now because we used to get just slammed. They didn't care. They wouldn't throw a flag. But nowadays it's totally different. You can't touch a quarterback. There's never hardly a play goes by when the kicking game doesn't get a flag. There's too many flags for me. But what do you think about the overall game, Mike?
Okay, so first of all, disclaimer number one, I wasn't talented or brave enough to play football, so I'm going to sound like this old tough guy, but I also acknowledge that I'm not tough. No, disclaimer number two, head trauma is a real thing, and I'm glad that they're trying to make it safer, and that's all good. Okay, I got that out of the way. Dude, I sit there in training camp and watch players act like it's hard, and I laugh. I'm like, What are you talking about? When I started covering the 49ers in 1989 in Rockland, where it was 199 degrees and no shade, they did 2-a-days. The practices were 2.5 hours long, full pads, and you were lucky if you got water. And I'm not saying that's the perfect way to do it, but they were more prepared to start the season than these teams are now in week one. It's a joke. And also, I see coaches, it's unbelievable. They have an hour and a half, one practice in pads once in a while in training camp, and they'll waste 7 of the periods on individual, stretching. I'm like, what are you doing? At least go 11 on 11. You can't even tackle, but go 11 on 11 for the whole hour and a half. It makes no sense to me. And yes, the rules are frustrating. And I made the mistake, Kelly, one time. I decided when I got to NFL Network and NFL.com, I was going to do a story on how hard it is to play quarterback now, to learn everything, and the systems are so intricate. And, it was a great idea. And I went around the country talking to people about how hard it really is to play quarterback. And I went to Broncos camp, and I'm sitting with John on a bench during the practice, and I start saying this, and he's just looking at me like I'm, purple. And finally he just goes, "Bro, it's the easiest thing in the world. They can't touch these guys. I had to deal with 2 steps, and then they could hit me." And I'm like, yeah, you're kind of right. I'm an idiot.
Hey, Mike, thanks for coming on. I got one for you. Obviously, I would assume you've dealt with Rand Carthon, with him obviously being with the 49ers and now the general manager of the Titans. And I'm not saying he's caught some flack, but with the way Will Levis has performed to start this season, I do think there are some people questioning the selection of Will Levis and can this guy pan out in Nashville for Brian Callahan? What have you seen from Levis so far, and do you think he's a guy that can succeed in the NFL eventually?
I think one of those people might be Brian Callahan, who's questioning whether Will Levis is good. Look, it's the quarterback thing is hard, right? I mean, I wrote a book about a coaching tree, and Kyle Shanahan had traded 3 ones and took Trey Lance 3rd overall. That usually ruins careers and franchises, but somehow they take Brock Purdy at 262 the next draft and get away with it. But usually when you miss on a quarterback up high, it's not good. I think the fact that C.J. Stroud was so good so soon, and by the way, that's adjacent to this tree with D'Amico Ryans and Bobby Sloak. But, because C.J. Stroud was so good, it just obviously the Panthers, they want to vomit every single day. They're just like, how did we trade up and get Bryce Young when C.J. Stroud was there? And then I think anyone else who took a guy who isn't, close to that level yet and maybe ever it's going to be hard. And that's hard for a first-time GM for sure. And I'm sure when they had conversations with Rand about coming and whether they were going to hire him, I'm sure a lot of those conversations were like, hey, what are we going to do at quarterback? And, you got to get that right. So, sometimes it takes time. And I look at Jaden Daniels and I'm like, oh, man, he seems to have it. But, Kelly, as you know, it's a journey, right? Like everybody gets – Peyton that first year threw like a million interceptions. It's hard. It's hard to, have it just stay good or start good and stay good. I think Marino's the only one where it was like, oh, no, he's great. And then there was never a time where he was not great.
Holy cow, what a treat this has been. Mike, before you leave, you got to promise that sometime down the road you'll come back on with us again, because on our end, this has been way too much fun. Is the book doing well early?
I hope so. I haven't seen numbers. Anecdotally, it seems like it's doing well, and I know it's going to blow up in Nashville now because of this. But I think it's getting a lot of buzz, and I want to come down and start drinking beers with Kelly and start dig back into these stories that we've left on the table all these years. And I love that I just gave confirmation on the Polaroids, and you're right, it wasn't a shoebox. It was so weird. It's great.
That's hilarious. Hey, again, the name of the book, as you can see in the picture, The Why is Everything, a story of football, rivalry, and revolution, written by Mike Silver. Mike, thank you so much. It's been a blast.
Yep. Thanks, you guys. I really appreciate it.
Tell Chip he hit another home run, or as John McClane would say it, my friend Chip Namius.
You know why John McClane loves Chip Namius? Because he got him in like 3 movies. All right, guys. I gotta go cover some football.
You have just unloaded the secret. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you so much.
Stay tuned. I'll tell you what he meant by that, and then we'll have silly underdog picks. That's coming up next.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, you need to call Bart Durham. And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from, and for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5688.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonleyTimmons.com.
Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday. Okay, so we've just unfurled some key info. So Chip Namias has helped John McClane get in some movies. John McClane loves getting himself into these parts in movies. And so I went and looked during the commercial break. The one I remember going to when we were on the air together was The Rookie, the story of the pitcher that had, come out of nowhere, left-handed pitcher who ended up beating all the odds and at like age 35 gets to be in the major leagues. I remember John being in The Longest Yard. I remember a bunch of us went to see that, and he has a piece near the end where he and about 10 other sports writers are in it. Here's some others. I didn't realize he was in the movie Secretariat. Facing Nolan, that does not surprise me because that's sort of a Houston connection. And Spring Breakers. McClane played a judge in this 2012 film.
That might be another John McClane.
It could be.
That's a different John McClane.
Yeah, but this McClane, well, I mean, it says here, former NFL writer for the Houston Chronicle, has appeared in many movies, including.
Oh.
But there is a John McClane actor as well.
Yeah, I think I don't think John McClane was in Spring Breakers.
Okay.
He would have been a good-looking judge, though. He'd have been a good-looking judge. He looks like a judge.
I like Chip Namias. Okay, so we're going to do underdog picks, and we got to figure all this out before we end up going over to 94.9 on Monday. Pogue has had to recuse himself, and so, Kelly, I can't believe I'm doing this. We're letting Billy be a picker.
There we go.
Oh my gosh! So what's Pogue
I'm winning
doing?
this thing.
Well, I mean, think about it. We're talking about different radio stations, and that's sort of
that's true.
Standard.
That's true.
Yeah, that's kind of
true.
Standard stuff.
You knew
although I gave him the option if he wanted. So what's going to happen is that Billy is going to inherit Pogue's point total, even though he's done nothing to deserve it.
Nothing.
I've
had to be the freaking commissioner.
But you've done a very poor job as a commissioner so far there, Hoss.
Well, I've been trying to manage you and Pogue.
Hey, George, here's the deal. He's got to start in third place. That's what he's got to do.
Well, he is. He's tied for third place with you.
Well, it's tied for second, you clown.
Yeah, whatever.
This is an ugly season, though. We're in week 7.
Yeah, we're talking semantics here.
Hey,
we're in
Billy,
week 7.
Billy. Hey, hold on, Billy.
And you've got 6.5.
What is up with that? What is up with that picture right there, dude? It looks like you need to drink a pint of blood.
It does
There's
look
no
like
color in your skin.
It does look like you have not been out in the sun. I'm guessing this is post Ave Maria.
Yeah.
You look like one of them avatars, Hoss.
Oh, that's. I'm sorry, I don't have the Greek olive look from George.
Yeah, well,
but
that's
I mean, you've had that
not a
your
true
whole life.
semblance of George either.
That's luck of the draw
But
for you.
compare it to Kelly. Kelly
but
doesn't
Kelly's
have
outside. He's in the NFL.
European American. Yeah, but you look like you've been stuck in a freezer. You look like
and you're the one that picked this picture.
Had that treatment that Ted Williams talked about, that they freeze you and bring you back.
Why did I pick that picture?
Why did you pick that picture, Billy? I mean,
know.
good gracious, dude! Like
getting that off the screen.
I want a picture of you and your girlfriend because I don't think she's. Hold on.
I'm getting that off the screen.
Hey, hold on. I won that one. Don't put an X on that.
Oh,
I won the Syracuse game last week. What are you doing? You have totally lost control of this situation.
I'll flip that one. Hey, like I said, most people are listening to us and not tuning in to watch, and no offense to the people that like watching on YouTube.
Are we reviewing? I mean, what are we doing here?
We're reviewing.
Well, yeah, but you need to say it for people.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to review last underdog pick.
Thank you.
Last week, George's pick sucked. Stanford got their butt kicked.
If you think I'm going to put up with this, you're crazy.
I mean, I'm the commissioner and a
we don't
contestant
care
now.
Billy, Kelly and I could care less.
Yes, seriously. Billy, let's move on.
My pick lost. Pogue made the selection. Duke lost 24-14.
Part of the fun of it is the banter that goes on in this type of thing. And you just throwing up a graphic have eliminated the possibility of any witty repartee.
What do you mean throwing up a graphic?
Well, I mean, that's all you've done. You just tried to throw that up there and let's go.
I mean, it's 5:34.
You know what? It could be 5:45. Kelly, congratulations on your good win of Syracuse over NC State. I applaud your pick.
I appreciate it. It was a good pick. We played well. We hung in there, and in overtime, we got it done. Now I need a green check mark instead of a red X. Fix it, Billy.
I'm working on it.
So,
you little redhead.
Do you have any level of standings for people to see?
Hold on. I'm not showing the standings yet.
Okay.
We got to finish reviewing.
Seems to me the first thing you needed to do was put some color in your face. My God. It looked like one of those frozen treatment things.
You can keep talking. I'm going to end up winning this competition.
It'll be.
You already know, because y'all's effort sucks this season.
It will be tainted.
This is embarrassing because George is at the top right now. He's never been at the top since I've been doing this for 17 years.
Yeah. And Kelly, what your performance this season
it's been horrible.
Has been a joke.
You've never competed.
Well, now's my chance.
You've been sitting inside. It's obvious by that picture. You've got no sun. You don't compete at anything. And now you're going to tell us what we are and what we're not.
And you're as bad as Willie, dude. Just move on. Willie doesn't put his toe in the hot water either, and now you're going to step in. And if you do win it, dude, you're never on it again. We're going to fight you and hit you in the throat.
I will say.
There it is again, real quick. Here's this week's order. George will lead us off.
Where are the standings?
I already showed the standings.
Show them again. I'm leading. I want people to see them.
Nobody cares.
I'm
leading.
Have
12 points.
Okay.
Yeah, George.
We ready?
Nobody cares.
We are ready, and we have no music today. So take that.
Kelly.
Gosh.
What kind of an operation is this?
It's a gym shoe, dude. We can't even get the sneakers. We can't even get the old Cons out, the old Converse sneakers and socks.
Okay, so what's the order?
Well, I just said it, but I'll repeat it.
He's got a short
will lead
memory,
us off.
dude.
Kelly will go second, and then I will close it out with a win. George, what you got?
Boys, we got a winner this week. We're going to take the Oregon Ducks, the Quack Attack, baby.
Oh, there ain't no meat on that one.
Yeah, there's not a lot of meat on that one.
Who cares? I don't need much competing against you two.
Yeah, especially Kelly.
This is the first time you've ever been on top, George, since I've been doing this competition along with the other radio
win this? Can you win this week so you can shut him up?
Well, I don't have one that big.
Why don't you do it? I mean, you sat in the
you're
welfare.
Right
You've sat in the
seriously.
welfare line, basically sponging off a Pogue.
All right, Kelly, what you got?
Oh gosh. You know what? Give me prime time and the Buffs to beat Kansas State at home. They're a home dog.
That is definitely a live dog. By the way, the first two have been really good picks.
Colorado plus 3.5 at home against Kansas State.
Anybody think Oregon beats Ohio State?
I don't.
I don't really care what you think.
I don't know. That's going to be a tough one, but there's not much meat on the bone, so you're not going to get that much in front of us if you do win. So I'm good with that.
Wonderful.
All right, so Kelly going with Colorado plus 3.5 against K-State.
I'm going to write down, Kelly, what he's going to take and then show it to you.
All right. I'm riding with LSU plus 3.5 at home against the Ole Miss Rebels. They're gonna eliminate Lane Kiffin and company from the playoff. LSU's at home. I'm taking the Tigers plus 3.5.
This is where I thought he was going.
Let me see it, George.
I was thinking.
You thought he was going to anchor down again, huh?
I did think he was going to anchor down. One of two things going to happen in that game. Either they're going to play it right to the wire or get smoked.
They're not going to get smoked. I really don't believe they're going to get smoked, guys.
I think George is still. George, you still have some concerns on Pavia, don't you?
No, it's not Pavia at all. Oh, good Lord.
He's just got concerns on Vanderbilt.
No, I've got concerns as to whether that team, they've dealt with adversity a lot, but they have never dealt with prosperity.
Let me ask you this. If they go out and beat Kentucky, does that change? They're going to a bowl. Yeah, but I think at that point you're talking 7-8 wins. If you roll through Alabama and then you go on the road and beat Kentucky,
I'd say relax.
Yeah, I'd say
bring it down.
Let's slow it
down
a little bit.
Relax.
Why?
I just do, man. I just do.
Relax.
If they beat Kentucky, though, that's going to be a huge win.
That's a massive win.
2 words: Georgia State. Okay, at their worst, Georgia State happens. At their best, they take the number 1 team in the country down and get all this pub. That's a big old gulf. Listen,
that's right.
Here's what I want you to do, Billy, because we're going to go to Plaster Bet of the Day in just a minute. Next week, I want you to put a picture out there as though you have been out in the sun at some point.
And Billy, since we're doing that, I want a picture with you and your girlfriend because I want to make sure she's alive.
I won't do that, but I'll try to find a better one of me.
Wow. Don't have it look like you're in that biofreeze.
You got to give me some. I mean, I don't have any reason. I mean, this is stupid, but it's not like I'm working outside in construction. I mean, I'm inside.
But you picked the picture. You've got a better picture than that, Billy.
I know, but you got to give me that. You made George
look like he was Tony Robbins.
Who's Tony Robbins?
Adonis.
Do you not know who Tony Robbins is?
That does look bad, though. And I don't know who Tony Robbins is.
It just looks like you haven't been out in the sun in about 10 years. Okay, let's move on.
Moving on.
Yes. Plaster Bet of the Day.
Yes. Plaster's Bet of the Day, not Stat of the Day. Brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. Give them a call, 615-242-9000, or log on to bartdurham.com. Check out what happened last night. The Padres did not book it.
No. I don't believe I've been given credit for the Padre win the night before on the total.
Yeah, you did. You did. He changed it yesterday. Yes, he changed it yesterday.
Okay. I just thought I'd see how far I could take it. Well, absolutely. This is a tough business, this picking winners thing. And I don't appreciate the book it.
I love it.
Okay, that's
I like
awesome.
It too.
That's
like
totally
it too.
unnecessary. And you stay
it's totally
out of
unnecessary
this,
for you with the book it. Unnecessary.
We have 2 plays tonight. Section 304, row 1 will be hopping. Go Preds.
Are the Stars as good as they were last year?
Yeah. This is going to be a dogfight. This has got a chance to be a playoff matchup.
Oh, nice.
Dallas Stars are really good. This is a tough first opponent.
They probably play a lot this year. Red Stars.
Yeah. Game 2. I'm taking the Niners, who absolutely wilted at the end of the Arizona game. They let Arizona push them around in San Fran, and they ended up losing the game by 1. They have signed a new field goal kicker. Their Jake Moody got hurt. They've got a new field goal kicker. They've been hearing all week about how they gagged this Arizona game. I look for San Fran to play with a little zip tonight against a team that I think's overrated. The Giants pushed Seattle around big time last Sunday. Kelly, 2 winners.
He was about to say book
them. Book them. Go ahead, book them.
No,
I know you want to.
No,
the 49ers need a win, too.
I'm not doing that to the Preds. We need a good start tonight. Kelly, you will not be with us tomorrow.
I will not.
Yeah. So, so we will see you Monday. Remember, 3 p.m. And don't show up at a Fordyce Center in Antioch. Okay, where we do the show is in Bellevue.
Oh, is Kelly coming out?
No, he's not.
No, y'all might need to send me a reminder, though, for the 3 to 5, because I will forget.
Oh,
are you 70 years old?
Act like an adult.
I know. I do need to grow up, but I am forgetful like that.
Hey, have a good weekend. Talk to you Monday.
See y'all.
See ya.
See all of you tomorrow for another edition of Football Friday. So long, everybody.